Hey there, y'all, and welcome to today's Daily Down and Dirty. My name is Fairlight. Welcome to Airy Fairy Tarot. All right, y'all, the message today is about letting your guard down and letting the light in. So it was a little bit confusing when it first came out. Overlighting the whole thing was the Six of Pentacles reversed, which is a card about not really receiving or giving. I'm not sure. Not my favorite card to be embraced. We'll come back to that one though. I mean, sometimes it's okay. We'll come back to that. And then underneath that, we have the Hermit reversed, the World upright, and then this card that's really not a tarot card, but it's a part of this deck. And I left it in because I like it when it's upright, but it's almost like a little bit disconcerting when it's reversed. So this card upright says, "Welcome to a realm where myth and magic are the reality." And it's really just the cover, card for this deck, but I just love using this as a tarot card because it's like doors opening to your own magical realm. But with this being reversed, and it's right behind the World card, just looking at those two right there, and then what really caught me off guard, it's kind of spooky. I don't think I've ever noticed it in this card before, but there's this face here in her wing, and it just felt really creepy. It's almost like she's trying to keep her balance because this face is watching her. And it's in her wing. I don't know who this is. Is that supposed to represent God or something? But I don't really go into that kind of creepy energy. So is this it feels masculine. I don't know why it feels so masculine. So this could be some sort of father figure. It just kind of feels like somebody looking over her shoulder to make sure she's dancing right or something, performing right, living, and then with this card being behind it, it just feels like, and the World card is the last card of the major arcana. This is a card of closing out major cycles, going through a portal to a brand new beginning, initiating something, dying to the old so that you can be reborn to the new. So it very much feels it almost feels like coming out of disassociation, especially connected to the next cards that came out. But just focusing so much on these, it's really important to close whatever that cycle is where you're performing for the approval of others. And it kind of feels like with that Six of Pentacles being reversed over top of it, it's almost like the old world isn't going to give to you the way it used to. If you da-da-da-da-da-da-da, maybe it just doesn't work that way. What I mean by da-da-da-da-da-da-da, there used to be a formula, boxes that we had to check off where the reality was so fabricated in such a structured way. Go to school, get the good grades, get the degree, da-da-da-da-da. But reality, that setup, it used to work for everybody, and now it seems like it's not really working for everybody, and there's just so much stress. It's forcing us to get more creative, and that creativity means we need to be more authentic and more true to ourselves, more honest about who we are, and more creative about how we create our realities, really about how we even make ends meet. It is kind of what it feels like. And so because the old world, it's just not giving to us the way it did for either our parents or our parents' parents or whatever. So, I didn't even know that's what the message was going to be, but it's interesting hearing that come out. So then next to this World was the Hermit upright, and I was feeling like these, even though this doesn't normally count, I felt like these together feel like three major arcanas. And I always want to say that when you get three or more major arcanas in a reading, it could signify that you are at a major destiny point. And here we are so close to the end of the year and the beginning of a new, and that's if you go by calendar dates. But also we just had our winter solstice, so that's the closing out of one cycle and the beginning of a new. And between now and I still have to correct myself, the Chinese Chinese New Year, which is not at the Capricorn new moon, but will be at the Aquarius new moon on February 17th. It's almost like we're in a vacuum or something. We're between portals right now. So I think it's very much letting you know that it's okay to reject the old paradigm, reject the old formulas. If you see that they're not working for you, it's okay to be in some sort of a limbo right now, because you're closing out old cycles and you're not going to stay balanced because somebody, big brother's watching over your shoulder or something. We're done with that cycle. So what's interesting is then this Hermit reversed. The Hermit reversed, I would think the Hermit would be upright, and let me see. And if the Hermit was upright, the Hermit would be facing this World card. But because the Hermit is reversed, the Hermit has his back to this World card. And so there is something about turning your back on that old paradigm, turning your back on closing that cycle and worrying about somebody looking over your shoulder. What's also interesting though is I would think the Hermit would be upright because it would seem to indicate a need to go within and find your own inner light. The Hermit is here and he is definitely looking at his lantern, or is he looking at this moth flying? When the Hermit's reversed, it can also say that it's time to come out of isolation. It's time to get more involved in community. It's time to find your people. And I didn't feel complete. These were the only cards that came out at first. It was these three and then this one overhead. And I just felt like it was an incomplete message. Like, okay, so it's time to turn your back on that cycle. It's time to complete that cycle because this is upright. Complete that cycle and then turn your back on it completely and come out of your shell and maybe start looking for community, start finding more, a new world to interact with, start finding your community, your tribe. But again, and I guess that could have been the message unto itself, but I did ask for a little bit more clarification and it didn't give me much. It gave me the Seven of Wands, the Seven of Staffs reversed. So it's shining that light, but it does kind of say that, again, the Hermit is about going within, isolating, seeking that inner light, that inner consciousness. And with this, it's like maybe it's time to come out of isolation. With the Seven of Wands being reversed, it would say, let your guard down. This is about you've gained the higher ground, keep your boundaries. But this kind of says maybe you've been a little bit too guarded. So maybe part of closing out this cycle, again, the World card is upright, maybe closing out that cycle, maybe, and I was getting some sort of energy of dissociation. I'm not sure why, but it's like this is not giving. And so there could be a tendency, if things aren't working out for you, to lean into the old world paradigm and seek the approval. Well, if this doesn't work, maybe I should give more of my sovereignty away and so that I can receive more. But really it's like that would be more of like chaining yourself to something instead of freeing yourself from the shackles. So it feels more like free yourself from the shackles of the old ways of doing things, the old belief systems, and let your guard down to this new world, this new community. And then underneath the Six of Pentacles reversed, I love that we have two sixes, we have the Six of Cups. So again, it's like maybe not looking for outer manifestation right now. You might be in some sort of a tower energy where things are falling apart, and that could put you into like a trauma response or a fear. And so really this is like highlighting emotional fulfillment, allowing your cups to be full. I like that these sixes, that two sixes together, it represents security, it represents family, can represent victory. Six of Wands is victory. Again, it's like home and family. There is a stability associated with the number six. And again, Six of Pentacles being reversed, you're not really receiving maybe money or monetary manifestation, physical manifestation, but you are receiving some sort of emotional fulfillment. And it feels like look to that. So with this, it feels like look to a community that is fulfilling. Look to those who pour into you right now. And maybe that isn't solving any kind of monetary situations at the moment, or material, whatever it is at the moment, but it does kind of indicate that, I've been listening to a lot of Esther Hicks lately, and Joe Dispenza. I've been talking about that in my videos. I'm just a big fangirl of Joe Dispenza lately. So many wonderful, inspiring people out there to guide the way. Bashar, talking about it's vibration. We are working at the core of vibration and frequency. Nikola Tesla talked about that. If you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of frequency, vibration, and energy. And so maybe not necessarily in that order, but and so emotional fulfillment. It feels like go outside of yourself, lower your guard, and allow yourself to be vulnerable, but only let those pour into you that truly see who you are. Be vulnerable with the authentic versions of yourself, your authentic expression. And those who don't understand you or don't accept you, they'll make themselves known. And those just aren't your people. Don't energize that. Don't let anybody gaslight you. I have a couple of fun little metaphors, and then I'm going to get off here. But one is there's a brilliant lady I spoke with earlier, and she was talking about how she was getting over a cold, and her cold didn't last very long, and her partner had been sick, and he was insistent that she was going to get more sick because he had gotten more sick, and just wait, you're going to get more sick. And it's like he was trying to curse her to get more sick, but this lady is so powerful and strong in her energy. She didn't get more sick. She had the cold, and then it was done, and she got better. And so she didn't allow that influence to curse her. And so it's like we don't have to allow other people's projections to influence what we create in our own realities. So that's one. And then another one is like, there was this thing online, I had shared like a joke, and it was a silly joke, and somebody decided to project something very mean onto my purpose for it, and I just thought it was funny. And so instead of allowing that, I gave these examples to somebody else, so I'm just going to share those examples too. Instead of getting defensive or whatever, I just said, whatever filter you're reading this through is your own, man. And then that's it. Like, that's not my filter. Nobody else gets to decide your intention. And if they want to project or curse onto you, you don't have to accept it. You can just be like, no, that's your own thing. And maybe by letting them see that they're projecting, they'll be willing to look in themselves in the mirror and say, yeah, or not. But you're not responsible for their projections, and you definitely can choose to be more powerful and say, no, that was your truth and your reality, but it's not mine. All right, that's all I have for today. If you would like a palm tarot or astrology reading from me, and you happen to be in the downtown Nashville area, hit me up and find out what days I am here at Instant Karma downtown. It's a one-stop hippie shop, all kinds of cool swag that you can get: tarot decks, candles, crystals, incense, tapestries, cute clothes, hats, all kinds of cool stuff. And if you're not in Asheville, then feel free to hit me up, or you can find the link to my booking in either the show notes or somewhere in my bio. All right, once again, my name is Fairlight. Peace and love until next time.